everyone. I thought I'd hop on and talk about this book I finished reading. It's actually the week before last, but wasn't feeling 100% last week, so I didn't get to film the content. But it's called How Freaking Romantic by Emily Harding. And this was one of my Book of the Month selections in July. But I had such a big TBR pile, I just recently got around to starting it and finishing it. If you hear some noises in the background, that's my dog Piper being a little crazy. Apologize for that. If you're going to read this book, go ahead and stop the video. Because there'll be some spoilers. It's a typical chick lit, which is fine. I like chick lit. It's sometimes when work is stressful, I've expended a lot of mental energy during the day, I don't necessarily want to read something that's going to really make me think really deeply. I just want something to kind of just lighter reading that I can just be entertained by, and that falls into this. So she's final year of law school, and she's the main character, and then the main male character is an attorney, and it's a typical I think enemies is too strong of a word for what they are, but dislike to lovers, we'll put it like that. I would say this is a fantastic book. It's really great chick lit, but there was, and this is going to sound nitpicky maybe to some of you, but I'm a former teacher, so this really it was hard for me to get past. But multiple times in the book, when a character had to scratch, the main character, who, keep in mind, is a last year law student, kept saying they itched themselves. Nope. That's like how a 4-year-old talks about someone scratching themselves. They itch themselves. Someone who is a last year law student, sorry, I'm not buying that. But that's their level of intelligence and education. Like I said, I may be the only one that bugs. But just as that former teacher in me, no. So for me, it's hard for me to buy into the character when it's so unrealistic like that. I mean, if it's a fantasy book, that's one thing, but when it's supposed to be like reality and it's something so very not realistic, it's really hard for me to get behind that character. And then a bigger issue with the main character than that is, a lawyer, they need to be able to control their emotions. They can't, flip out on every little thing and just lose it and go crazy on everyone. And she does this. She has zero control over her emotions. She just loses it on people, which is actually how she meets the main lead. She loses it on him. And she gets into other people's legal business. One of her best friends getting a divorce, she's storming into that divorce attorney's office, losing it on him. She's never met him. And by the way, who ends up being the main male lead. And just getting all up in her friend's divorce. And I'm just everything about that is inappropriate for someone who supposedly is a last year law student. No, that wouldn't happen. So I'm kind of and this was published by, it's Gallery Books, but it's an imprint of Simon & Schuster. I just feel like it was just bad writing as far as those things go, and bad editing. Why didn't they rein the author in a little bit on some of this stuff? So I read it. It was a light, fluffy read, which is what I was looking for. Not the best chick lit that I've ever read, for sure. don't know that I would buy another book by Emily Harding because of those issues. And I know I camped out a lot about that whole itch thing. But to be fair, the fact that the main character was so unrelatable, or I guess I should say unrealistic, as to what someone really would be acting like in that station of life, really put me off. So it was hard for me to root for her, I guess is, what I'm saying, I'll say. I think it's worth, like, checking out from the library if you're looking for something light and fluffy to read. I wouldn't spend money on it personally, but that's just me, But there's my 2 cents. Thanks for listening. And if you like content like this, where it's just randomness about my life, book reviews, clothing, things like that, give it a like and subscribe. And I hope everyone stays safe, and talk to you later. Bye.